So what's an EDC belt, and can these two belts right here from Fairwin meet that need? While they are affordable, let's take a look and see if they have what it takes to be your next EDC belt. What's going on, everybody? This is Lamar with MFin Research, and today we've got two belts from Fairwin to take a look at. To me, an EDC belt is one that's tough, one that's reliable, and one that's capable to meet your needs on a day-to-day basis. Those needs could be anything from multi-tools, EDC pouches, knives, flashlights, keys, or firearms if you carry. So these guys right here were sent over by Fairwin for me to review. They wanted me to take a look, give you my thoughts. No money changed hands, so we're gonna take a look. As always, we're gonna run through them. We're gonna talk about what I like and talk about areas where maybe they could improve. The two belts that we have here today, this is the rigger belt and this is the stretch nylon belt. Going through my Amazon order history, I realized that I had a Fairwin belt years ago, but I think I left it in the hotel on a work trip to Virginia. So there's somebody out there that can tell you all about this belt if they kept it. I remember wearing it regularly because it was my first conversion into the ratchet style adjustable belts. Again, these were sent out to me by Fairwin for my opinion. I wasn't paid for the review. I was simply asked to take a look and see what I think. So I'm gonna tell you. So looking at the product page for Fairwin, they have ratchet belts, they have braided belts, they have more casual style belts, they have elastic belts, and they have a few other things too. But today we're gonna look at the tactical lineup with a more tactical focus. These come in 5 to 6 different colors depending on the size, and it depends on which one you get. I've got a brown and I've got a black right here. There's also a few camo options in the outlet section. They're both 1.5-inch nylon belts. The stretch nylon, as the name says, it's got about 15% stretch. The rigger belt has no stretch. Looking at the nylon, this is a lot smoother feeling nylon, and this is a little bit more coarse. It seems to have a little bit of give, but it seems more rigid when you wear it. This one comes across a little more rigid too. So going through the size chart on both of them, this guy goes all the way up to a 2XL, and this one goes all the way up to a 3XL. So take a look at the size chart, look at it against the size pants you normally wear. For me, I'm a 38 jean, I got a large. I probably could have got a medium, but if you get a little extra material, that's okay. You can always cut the end and burn it to make it shorter if you need to. So on the rigger belt, they have this rigging loop. So rigging's not really my expertise, but I looked into it a little bit. It's either designed to connect right here and support your body weight in certain applications. So now let's take a look at the buckles, which is probably the most defining feature on both of them. This buckle, while it looks bigger, I found it easier to work with. It's a more latch style, so it just clips in like that. It's very sturdy. I had no problems with it coming out or anything while wearing it. And it's just unique from some of the belt buckles that you see out there. That's what the back looks like, and then that's what the front looks like. The rigger belt comes across as like a Cobra style belt. This was initially the style that drew me to this particular belt. So using it, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Warning, this video contains various shots of dad bod, aka tactical muffin top, aka man belly, and a necessary attempt to review the Fairwin Tactical Belts. If this bothers you in any way, please skip to the next section of the video, grab a snack, hit the thumbs up button, and hit the subscribe buttons. All parties in MFR support the content in the remainder of this video. So now that that's out the way, let's talk about the belt a little bit. First question that I saw a lot of times is, does it stay tight when you're wearing the belt? And I would say, and we'll put some B-roll right around here, just showing you the belts in their use state, I would say they both stay pretty tight. The stretch belt is easier to adjust when using it, but overall, I really think that they both stayed put. I never had to readjust them during the day, so I don't think that's a problem for either one of them. The other question I saw is, do you really have to take the buckle off every time you need to thread the belt on? I would say most times. On the stretch belt, you could get away with it most times, a little bit easier under more belts. On the rigger belt, you really had to take it off more often than not. Every now and then you could get it through, but I think because of these wings, sometimes they would get caught and it would be a little more difficult to deal with. And it was a little bit more of a hassle because this belt kind of stays locked and this belt gives you a little flexibility. So it's a little easier to get this one on than it is this one. I did notice that on most jeans, you had the option to get them on a little easier without threading the loop off. But on a lot of chinos and stuff like that, it really wasn't as easy. So if I didn't want to have to unstrap the buckle every time, I'd probably go with the stretch nylon over the rigger belt. As far as the rigger section goes and using it for its intended purpose, I really didn't have any climbing weight carabiners or anything like that to use. I was tempted to buy one just to test it out because I was curious and I love a good experiment, but I didn't. And what I did find is this area was one more thing to put on the belt. And what I did see is this is actually supposed to go over your belt loop like that. Just trying to capture all of that made it kind of busy to deal with. I did like using it for some of my EDC, and if I wanted to take some keys and clip them here, I did enjoy using it for that. But that's about the only thing that separates that function for me. If you use the rigging function on your belts, that may be a different consideration for you. But for me, in my use case, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I think the best use for these guys was having a nice sturdy belt to clip your EDC to. You could clip your pouches, your multi-tools, your knives, anything that you really wanted to wear. I think this belt holds up pretty good to that. You wouldn't have to worry about that clip wearing it out over time. Other question I saw was just how easy it is to adjust the belt when you're wearing it. You'll see that the stretch nylon belt was fairly easy to adjust. While it was easy to adjust, it didn't come loose, so you could make those somewhat micro adjustments, but not as easy as a ratchet style belt. On the rigger belt, it's a lot more sturdy as far as adjusting. This part really didn't lend to adjusting when you're on the fly, so it was pretty much locked in the size that I had it on. And we'll talk about the carry section a little bit later, but I did find that I tended to wear this one a little bit looser just to accommodate for that. And so what was it like wearing the belt? So I found both belts comfortable. I found the stretch nylon just because it stretches, just because it gave me a little more give, a little more comfortable in day to day. I found that I didn't have an issue and it didn't get in my way. I really didn't notice wearing it after a while, so I found this more comfortable. I did find that the rigger style belt, while I love the Cobra style buckle, it tended to get in my way more often than not. I also found one situation, and it just could be triple digit degrees in Texas, that the belt got a little hot for some reason just being out in the sun. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I don't know if that's a big issue. I don't know if it can be recreated, but I did notice it one time. So now that we've had the belt for a little while, we looked at the features, we've carried with it for a little while, let's talk about what I think about it as a carry belt. Last time I posted a belt that could possibly be used for carry, got a lot of pushback on it's not super rigid. There's two different schools of thought on that. I'm somewhere in the middle, and it depends on the situation and it depends on the carry. So from my perspective, what I'm carrying is a micro compact M&P Shield Plus, so that's what we're gonna focus on right there. So I normally use an Ulti clip, but for right now, I'm trying this different clip to see if I like it better than the Ulti clip. I also carry further back between 330 and 430, but for the sake of video, I moved it a little further up just to show it a little easier and be able to manipulate things while focusing on the camera. Also notice, for those YouTube police out there, that I did show that the chamber is clear and the magazine is unloaded. So one of the things I noticed right off the bat, what I usually prefer is a micro adjustment system in my carry belts, just because as the day goes on, as you're moving, as you wear different pants, if you tuck your shirt in, things like that may impact the fit of the belt. So you may need to adjust it more or less. And if you just eat a little more for lunch or for dinner, you might need to make a little more room in the belt. So that's something I like to see, something that's easy to adjust. One thing I found is that the nylon stretch belt could adjust a little easier than the rigger belt. It was fine. I had no problem drawing, doing any of my dry fire practice. None of that was an issue. So if you're carrying like a Desert Eagle or a CZ Shadow, you might have a different issue. If you got that CZ Shadow though, can I borrow it just for a little while? And I also tried wearing it under some joggers to see what I thought about that. Not really a big fan of that, so you'll have to go with other solutions for that. So as a carry belt, I think they did a fine job. They may be different for you, but for what I need, they were just fine. Hey, I hope you're liking the video so far. Don't forget to like, comment with any gear reviews you'd like to see in the future, and subscribe to MFin Research. Any support helps grow my little small corner of the EDC community. Now back to the video. So now let's just talk about what I liked a little bit. The buckles on both are different than what I normally consider from a belt. I like the flex in the nylon belt. It really made it comfortable wearing it day to day. The colors and the material felt sturdy. Didn't see any loose seams or any issues like that. So definitely was happy with the way it looked and the construction. I definitely felt like at the price, I think they're well under 20 bucks and there's coupons all the time. I will post links to both of these guys in the description. And I do feel that they're a good value for the money for what you get. I'd recommend that this is a great starter carry belt. It's one where if you're not sure what you want or what you need, you're not in for too much money, you can learn what you want and what you don't want, and you don't have to feel like you need to upgrade right away to a new belt. There's a wide size range, So if you're really small or really large, I think you'll be able to find a belt that fits your size, and with that, there's a lot of adjustability. Like I said before, if you mess up and pick too large of a size, you can always cut down and make it a little smaller for you. So if you're on the larger or the smaller end of the spectrum, this might be a belt to consider as well. So now let's talk about some of the areas where I think these belts can improve. I don't know how easy it is, but having to take the buckle off to thread it easiest and fastest was a bit of an issue. It's not super long once you get the hang of it, but it's one of those things, especially if you're using it as a carry. I found the same issue in motorcycle gear. If it's not comfortable and it's not easy to use, you're not going to use it. So that's something that I consider. And I'd maybe say maybe trimming that material down just a little bit so it can slide through those belt loops a little bit easier. Don't know how feasible that is. I'm pretty sure these are off-the-shelf buckles, but if you could get the neck size down or something like that, that might work a little easier for the belt. And I don't think it'll take too much away from the aesthetic of the belt as well. This particular belt might not be your cup of tea. I personally, for a carry belt, would prefer something with a micro adjustment. So if you take the technology from their micro adjustments and put it into one of these belts instead of these buckles, while I love these buckles, for a carry situation, I think I like those micro ratchet adjustments just a little bit better. And the other thing, you're probably going to see it a lot in this video, something with a little more rigidity baked in. That's going to help give it a little more strength, a little structure. For me and my needs, I think it was fine, but depending on what you have, you might need a little more structure. So the last thing, and this is unique to the rigger, I found this belt to be sometimes uncomfortable. Since like you saw in the disclaimer, got a little bit of tactical muffin top going on here. Sometimes that poked into the belt buckle a little bit, and yeah, it's going down a little bit, so that may go away with time. You may not have that issue depending on your body type, but I did find that this was a little bit annoying sometimes to wear, and I found that sometimes it got hot. I don't know if it's just triple digit weather in Texas, but it got hot. And the other thing I'll say is dealing with this and this got to be a little bit much from day to day. If you need this for your day to day or your work life, then that's a benefit you're willing to take. But just for casual wear, I could do without this all day. I really enjoyed both of them. I thought they were well made. Like I said, I've actually had a Fairwin belt in the past. I'm probably going to get more. I really wish they would have been able to send me one from the casual line, one of the ratchet belts. I'll probably pick one of those up on my own dime. So that just tells you how I feel about the belts. One thing I will say, as far as the belts go, there's a couple little changes that I think that make them a little better. That micro adjustment, slimming down the buckle, but I do really like the style of the buckle on both of them. I don't think I have any buckles of this style, so I do like that look of it. Out of the two, I'd probably say the nylon stretch belt is my favorite, just because the belt buckle is a little more different and it's more comfortable, and I appreciated that stretch. So if I had to pick one of the two right now, I'm gonna go with the stretch nylon belt. But I will say, because of the added rigidity, the rigger belt, if you have a larger carry than I do, that might work out a little better for you, or you may decide to scrap them all together. I think they're good belts. I was happy with them. I don't have any major complaints. Nothing failed, so that's a good thing. I do think they do what they're intended to do. So if you're interested and you like what you heard, take a look at the description. I'll have links for them. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. On the screen right now, there'll be some other videos you can take a look at of some other things I've reviewed and some other things I've talked about. That's it. I'm Lamar with MFin Research, and I'm out.